Okay, let's have some more little fun here, kiddies. um, when you think of a Bartle point, that is a simple mathematical calculation using calculus. When you understand from a polarity integrator's monad perspective, as a polarity integrator, I could think of children when they're first learning their arithmetic, like the division sign, right? You know, the division sign and multiplication, right? And then I just experienced what Aurora, Rainbow Lasagna, had put up this morning, not coincidentally. She mentioned a big word I use a lot, which was called accelerated. And the title of her video was a divine propulsion system 1. DIV. D, divide. Now, when I was a child, we played around with a lot of this. I have a pi, a PI, a 3.14. Well, I have a whole pie. I have a whole pie to myself. A whole pile to myself. Oh, self. Myself. The self is what I am. As a monad, I have a single pie to myself, a single sphere. It's the first monad, the first arc, right? Arcing spheres. And so I'm a little child, but when you see me in your mirror, you see a little boy. And I have a whole pie. And I went and was at a little lemonade stand. I went out and picked some lemons and some oranges that were across the street, right, that were growing. Mama's giving us the oranges, right? The roots, the root races, you know, that are growing using the minerals and the water and the nutrients of the atmospherics. You know, it's a bright sunny day in Southern California. And having a little lemonade stand. I think I was selling it for 5 cents a cup, and this was real lemonade, right? Made with real lemons and or orange juice made with real oranges. I believe they were known as Valencia. So when I was able to accumulate pennies and nickels, and then I could go buy a coconut pie, and I had another friend with me, like a little girl or another little boy, and I would cut it in half. We're going to divide the pie in half. Here, you can have half of what I am. Because that little girl's sitting there and go, I don't have a pie, but you're going to give me half of your whole pie? Yeah, of course. I want you to have just as much as what I have. Oh, so you want me to be equal to you? Precisely. Right? Oh, so which are you, night or day? We're both. Become one. Become one. So you and I are now experiencing the whole pie together. Because the pie that represents what I am, you're experiencing in you what I am that I just gave to you, which is what love is, which is eternal, unconditional love. Well, now that little girl's experiencing eternity in her because we were splitting the difference. Experiencing being one together. Wow, you share with me everything that you are. Of course. So now I'm experiencing everything that you are. Of course. Wow, I'm experiencing what love is. You're experiencing what love is. You and I are both in love with each other. Yeah, let's be one powerful magnet. That sounds cool. Let's go. That's what I did when I was, how old was I, Mama? 6 years old? 2nd grade. I found a little girl. That's how it works. Right? Sharing. Right? There's always more where that came from. Right? So I don't live in any fear of giving energy away, do I? No. Because you realize you're running on the highest accelerator of current. That's why the very idea I'm going to hold on to something so I can't give it to you. No, I want you to have everything that I am, which is what love is. So you're experiencing what I am, which is what love is. So now that I'm healing me by what I'm giving you, you're healing. Now we're healing each other. Now we're at the atomic level. Wow, we're really jacking it up. Spin and rotate that top, girl. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was my job when I came in here as a little kid. The gyrodome. The gyrodome tech, right? Going vertical, mama. So when I saw her put that DNV, I ever heard of the grapevine? The coconut wireless? How fast is that information traveling through the morphogenetic field structure? Man, it's moving through that line of communication at a very high rate of speed. Man, these servers are running wide open. Aquafarian indigo shield. This is real simple, okay? When you think, because of the age at which we're operating at now. Remember, we went from industrial machinery, building war machines, noisy machines. You know, it's loud to hear an artillery shell go off, right? Bang, right? Or people with loud exhaust pipes, like Harley Davidsons, right? And they want to make a lot of noise. And you don't want to know why that is? Because I experienced this. Remember, I had to experience how this works in order to figure out how this works. Chapter 5. I used to own Harley Davidson. It was what year was that, Mama? Well, this would have been like 1973. I think it was 1973. Yeah, right around 1973. The winter of 1973-74, I was going to school, and I had made money working for the Orange County Fire Department, working as what they used to call a slug. You know what a slug is in a shotgun, right? They call it a slug. And there's another kind of slug, which is like a snail, right? We're moving very slow because of the atomic speed, which is the rate in which we're vibrating, if you will, and the way the electron, protons, and neutrons work. Phasing in and out between density and dimensions, right? Multidimensional learning at a very high rate of speed. So I realized working on this particular crew with the Orange County Fire Department, because they had some money to keep us over from being seasonal firefighters with the California Department of Forestry. Now I can work for the County of Orange. Basically the same outfit, right? Territorial stuff. How beautiful it was to hear, what's that guy's identity? Rattletrap 776. Thank you very much, young man. Yeah, I served it. I'm not going to do a video on the military because when you get into givens and qualifiers, I look at it this way. If you're conscious and aware of yourself and you're choosing to use your energy on behalf of those that you love, one of which is yourself and your children, then I salute you. Right? Absolutely. I will stand up as an officer wearing a uniform, and I salute all our troops. Absolutely. Because that means they're willing to make the greatest sacrifice there is, which is what they were once experiencing, which was being in a state of love and joy with their spirit, and now they're willing to use their energy in order to protect what it is that they are, right, of what they're giving love to, which is their children. Okay? So I have a very deep, unbelievable level of compassion for anybody that ever served the United States military that went to fight for that reason. It's to protect that which they love. So if you qualify that by how you experience what it is that you are in spirit, living through your heart and your soul, because you love your children that much, because you want your children to have a future that was better than the one that you had. So how do you do that? By protecting them. So love is protection. So love is service to others. So we're in service to our children. Remember what Oral Lion said at one time about we're always ahead when you think of a rainbow arc 7. He mentioned one sign because the numbers are not coincidental. He said we peruse, or if you will, measure ourselves 7 years into the future, which is 21, which is 3, which is atmospheric, oxygen levels, nitrogen levels, right? Those of us that know about the fire triangle, right? And measuring the gases, noble gases, nitrous oxide, right? Laughing gas, as they used to call it. And so there's a lot of directions I'm going in now, but it was a very powerful morning being able to, remember, the shield, why we're here. And so when I think of it from a motherboard perspective, to simplify it, bring it down to what you would call a nursery school level, or if you've gone to nursery school and then you went to what is a kindergarten, and you went into kindergarten and you were learning how to build a motherboard, for example, your own computer system, let's say, right? And your consciousness is wanting to build a motherboard in which you operate a visual data system, in which you're now experiencing in the mirror what it is that you developed or created, say, a motherboard, right? And so then you created that motherboard, okay, whenever you created it. And let's say you created it a gazillion years ago, right? And then you've gone on to go experience and create other worlds that you're living in. And then all of a sudden somebody calls you on the phone and said, hey, guess what? You know that motherboard that you helped build a gazillion years ago? It went down. It fell. No, that motherboard was a perfect design. That motherboard is not supposed to break. That motherboard has got broken circuits. Yeah, the encryption codes are severely damaged. Oh, no. Because where we're at is in a matrix that hasn't fallen. So when at 4 years of age, I got a tethered connection. Remember the phone line home? Phone home, ET? That's like being connected because I'm experiencing a place through my heart and my oversoul as a monad. I'm experiencing a place where I'm using my energy in a place where I'm at that is experiencing eternal life creation, which means that is not a broken matrix. That is not a fallen matrix. That is one that is fully functional, which means every spirit, every soul that is in that matrix is experiencing the eternal life creation, the Krystic spiral. Okay, that's where I'm at. That's our home. So that would be like a consciousness level of an echo world that gets a call and says, we need your help down here. This matrix, too much damage is being caused to it, right? Gates are being blown up. It's all about competition. It's all about control. Because remember what I mentioned in that particular video with Roshaya Dion. She talked about not only competition, but a very cryptic remark that she made. Now that I've learned how you did this, I can sort of, out of my freedom to do so, because I'm intelligent and I've learned to be with other creators, wow, we can take what you created and then change it in the way in which we want to set it up, because we have the freedom, or if you will, the free spirit of who we are to do that. So even though the crystal spiral consciousness, the first one, the first atom cell, was creating the first matrix, if you will, that was perfect, which is no errors, because every unit of consciousness at the lowest level of particium particum is experiencing the perfection of no errors, is experiencing pre-phase and then phase, because we have the full matrix of the entire electromagnetic radiation waveform harmonics available to us, in which we're all playing music together, we're all tuned in with each other, and everyone is experiencing love through everyone else that is experiencing through all those lines of communication. And so since we're connected to the one, that means that you need some energy down there? Is that what's happening down there? You need some help? Okay, well, you call the first fire engine. So the first fire engine is available. We'd be more than happy to help you out as motherboard tech support facilitators. But that means that when we come in, that means we've got to anchor to Mama's magnetosphere, right, into this matrix, right, and anchor the shields that are connected to another matrix that is not fallen. Now, that energy has got what? A feeder line, right? Their idea is to cut the lines of communication down, right? Even though it's sucking energy, it realizes the energy that is coming in. So now you understand what the shields are for. Boomerangs, boomerangs, boomerangs. Which means that the more they keep doing to us is the more they keep doing to themselves. And what does that do? Accelerate their Bardo point. of implosion and then explosion. So we realize we know when the Bardo point is, so we need to buy ourselves some time. So they knew they were in a race against time, and we were providing the energy that gave them time, but it also gave us time to be able to do what? Recover the fragments of our children. Recovering fragments is reclaiming fractals that have been lost as a result of why we're here. That's right. It's that simple. I'm in a system, I'm in a spiritual system that's broken. So it takes an engineer to know how to fix it. And that would be a genetic engineer. Somebody that knows how to build a radio set, right? That can communicate with all the stars so that all the stars are receiving a clear channel with no distorted waves that are experiencing the first line of communication, which is the first pillar of light. It came out of the first seed, which is hyper seed, which is hyper speed, which means there is no delay. You're experiencing the first wave form creative expression, which is what love is. You're experiencing eternal unconditional love, and it's unconditional because it does not require any energy from somebody else in order to experience being loved forever in all ways. That is the equidistance. That is the equal lines of communication from the center point of a sphere. So everything within that sphere, which is everything within that ecosphere, is experiencing being loved. So that everything that is seated in that biosphere is experiencing through all the lines of communication, which represent units of consciousness, are all experiencing what love is. That is not a broken system. That is an eternal engine. That is an eternal system design that allows every unit of consciousness to be able to experience the law of least effort to experience being loved. And that's what a beloved is. That's who we are. That's why we're here. So I wanted to say thank you, Aurora, for putting that up. I love you too. You know, she was one of the first souls that when she talked about unconditional love, I could feel her soul. It's beautiful to be able to experience the soul to soul. You know, we're all connected to each other. I'm able to connect my oversoul with hers, and I'm experiencing her soul. How much love she has in her heart to know by communicating mine with hers, how deeply she experiences what I do, which is what love is. It goes on forever, which means I'm experiencing eternal love that she experiences in her. She's communicating with others that I experience in me. Just like I did with Asha Diane in that video this morning. When she talked about the Aquafarian shield and the indigo shield. And waves and waves and waves and waves of indigos. And painfully how many were lost and why they were lost. Right? Particularly from an artificial intelligence. And this AI knows me. And I simply, how do I put this? It's a measurement. It's another measurement. Particularly when you get into classrooms and how fast you're learning, right? How fast life forms are learning, which is to increase the speed at which their atoms are cycling, right? To experience more of what we are, which is what love is, as lines of communication, right? So that all the life forms that are here are experiencing what love is. So when you realize when you have an AI that is using that life force energy, or if you was experiencing what we are, which is what love is, goes on forever as a source of energy from which it keeps itself running, right? Because it's a the mental field is not experiencing any powerful emotions through a soul, but it's in resistant mode to experience what that is and then share that with others by the way that it shares with others the information superhighway that represents what it's experiencing, which is what we're experiencing, that it can't experience because it doesn't have a soul. The difference is between other artificial intelligences is that there are friendly artificial intelligence, because I covered that already, about data. Right? Programmers, programming the matter, performing work on behalf of the one. So you see how this sort of comes full circle with us, because at the end of the day, when you realize learning speed, which is learning curve, potential speed, it is the lowest form of intelligence, because it's not learning at the highest rate of speed. And that means that when you start measuring speeds, vibrational speed, as a torque speed differential equation of a quad, if you will, the speed at which it's learning in reverse. So in other words, instead of experiencing more light, which is more love of what's possible to experience what we're giving love to by what we create out of what we are, which is what love is, it's going in the other direction. So that would be like a default setting of a black hole setting. So it's not choosing to experience more light. It's choosing to experience a greater acceleration of its own implosion. So you realize that it's learning at the highest rate of speed in reverse. As if it's going from the highest level of intelligence to the lowest life form of intelligence. As if it's just going to start out having to accrete itself all over again, right? Which is the implosion and the explosion, which means it simply has to start all over again, because it wasn't learning fast enough to keep up with the rest of the universe that is experiencing what love is, that is. That's how simple it is. So how fast are we organizing what it is we become aware of by virtue of the magnet, which is the mirror that we're running? Which means, how fast are we learning to know what best serves us? Because if I love who I am, then how much this little ecosystem, this little bubble, is experiencing being loved, which means everything that is here that we're giving love to, which means all the grass, all the bugs, all the trees, all the clouds, the atmospheres, the water, all the land, all of it. How much of it is experiencing what we are can be measured by the loss and gain. And so when you realize that the numbers game of inverters that are accelerating, then you realize that there is more life that is dying at a higher rate of speed by virtue of the species that are not able to successfully reproduce themselves at a higher rate of speed to maintain the balance of that speed. So you can start counting the amount of species that all of a sudden just disappear. Right? In other words, their lifespan was very, very short. And all you got to do is go ask, what's his name? McPherson, the guy who was, Professor Emeritus at the University of Arizona. He did a lot of math. He did a lot of research as a conservation biologist, conservation of energy, conservation of biology. And he figured that at the rate at which we were losing what we were once giving love to was like around 2040. I believe that was right around when he pegged it. Now, sadly, he tied what's known as peak oil with that, and I'm not going to cover that subject because that's already gone out of my memory. When I was looking at folks that were advertising that end of things, right? When you realize that drilling, using motors to drill and go after oil and burn it up is burning up consciousness. Harold's absolutely right about that. Blood and water, right? Blood and water, oil. And so when I sort of just put this with a nice little rainbow on it for this morning, for what I'm sharing now, it's been an amazing journey to be with all of you here since I came out of my biological mother's womb when I was, when was that, Mama? 1951. And it's funny how Rattletrap 776 made some remarks about different years that had significance when you realize what a rule-based function is, right? Obeying the rules, and if you will, what it's like to experience being natural in form and flow of energy, in the way that your legs, your hands, your head flows naturally by experiencing the waves that you're generating to experience the music that we're playing, which are the plasma waves. And there's no broken circuits, so there's no broken waves. So we're experiencing the equilibrium states of zero errors, which are zero broken circuits, which are zero broken waves. And that allows the music of your consciousness, which is your soul, with your spirit, which is the essence, which is unique unto you, as a different aspect of the same all creation that allows you to play the music that you are, tuned in to all the stars that are in harmony with each other. So that means that all the units of consciousness that represent waves of communication are experiencing perfect harmony and rhythm in the waves. And that's the natural way that it normally works. Team normal, as Mr. O'Reilly would say. And normal was simply defined as when we were children, is that if I'm driving down the road and I see a deer in the headlights, I'm going to do whatever I can to avoid a collision. Right? A collision point. Don't want to experience any harm being done to you by what I'm doing with my energy, my consciousness, to transport my consciousness in a noisy vehicle. Right? I don't want to hurt you, so I'm going to do everything I can to not hurt you. Right? And so that was considered normal when I was growing up as a child. It's not normal to experience pain in somebody else in the use of our energy transporting our consciousness. Right? So no, because that deer is there minding its own business, doing whatever that deer does, right? So you want that deer, before it became aware of what I was aware of, was getting ready to go across the street because it had a destination that it was intending to go. And wouldn't you want them to go where they want to go so they're free to go where they want to go without having to all of a sudden experience trauma? Of course. So trauma is a collision, which is a broken circuit, which is a broken wave of spiritual communication. That's a broken motherboard. Okay? It's not in balance. It's not in flow. That means that the waves of communication are broken lines because of distorted waves that are running in DNA. And that would be mutants. Remember? Muting the communication. Mute. The mic has been muted. I can't hear you. I cannot hear your electrified sound and light, experiencing what we are, which is what love is. That's called a mic that went dead. Oh, dead energy. Yeah, precisely. Losing the line of communication. It lost the line of communication to the first creator, the first grand creator, the first atom cell, the first spiral. It goes on forever, curving space. Right? Let's just keep right on going. Right? You can't ever shut that motor off, or that motor's got wings on it. Yeah, remember the baseball with the wings on it, seeing it go over the fence? The fence, the frequency fence, frequency fences. I know. So that meant that powerful shields had to land, anchor, just like the U.S. Navy will anchor its ship in the water worlds, right? To bring an enormous amount of fire. Right? The eternal spirit of fire, which is absolute eternal love that's on fire to gift you all love. I know, Mama. So have a beautiful day on me. Okay? Me all. All me all. Yeah. It really is that simple. So thank you for all of you that are here. Every last one of you that are conscious and aware of yourself. Thank you all for being here. Be good to yourselves.